So this is a deck that a lot of people have forgotten about. That's Zefra's. I mean, this deck is really good. It's consistent, has a bunch of variants. It's adaptable to the format. It's under the radar. I mean, people aren't going to know what to do when you pull out this deck, especially in the tournament scene. Some struggles that this deck has, though, that kind of keeps it under the radar. Stuff like it's difficult to pilot. This deck is insane. It has so many effects. It's really hard to know what to do. Uh, and currently now there's kind of an anti-pendulum format kind of scene going on. The side decks are all geared toward Pepe, and the cards that are sided in against that are gonna help the matchup against this. So the people that don't know what they're doing against it are just gonna put in stuff like anti-spell fragrance and twin twisters, and they're still gonna destroy you, which kind of sucks. But you got to deal with it. It has a lack of power plays kind of too. I mean, the extra deck is your power plays. Doesn't really have a boss monster, which kind of sucks. But you know, a lot of decks don't really have a big boss monster these days. And then they're kind of slow to start. They take a turn or two to set up with their traps and their secret and searching and all that. So I'm just gonna profile it now. You got 3 secret Zefraniu, 2 Zefraxi, 3 Thuban, 2 Exciton. By the way, I'm hoping you guys can read this. The profile deck list is going to be in the description as well. I encourage you guys to check this deck out yourself. I'm not really going to explain the cards. I'm just trying to give you guys a starting build to kind of work off of and learn how the deck is, because I really want to bring awareness to this deck. I feel like it can really do well if it's represented enough and if a good enough player pilots it. Triple Wendy. This card is a good recycler. A lot of people don't run it, but I do. We got Implica, 1 Swordmaster of the Nekroz, 2 Flame Beast, basically because it's searchable. 1 Zefracore, 2 Ariande. I'm aware that it doesn't cancel the cost for Zefra Divine Strike, but it does help get it out of the deck with its other effects. If it's destroyed by battle or card effect, you can reveal 3 counter traps. So you run 6 counter traps, so you have the opportunity to use that effect twice at least. Twice at the most, I mean. We got a Brionac for searching and Deneb. This is where the consistency comes in. All these different archetypes mashed together kind of like takes all the searchers of all the decks and mashes them together. Speaking of, we got 3 Oracle of the Zefra. This card is really good at making sure the deck stays consistent. I mean, it searches out, 18 monsters in the deck? That's insane. It searches out everything. And of course, it's kind of useless afterwards, though. I mean, it has some effects. The best one is probably the Xyz one. But yeah, it's kind of useless. That's why we run Chicken Game. And Chicken Game can also be overpowered by Zefra, Oracle. You kind of just switch them back and forth. And then 2 Terraforming to keep the consistency even higher. And reinforcement of the army. Again, consistency. You can probably already tell that this deck doesn't break very often. It kind of does when you draw a bunch of the same number scale, but then again, all it takes is one of those searchers, 1 Oracle, 1 Terraforming, 1 good draw, and you can summon all of those. 3 Solemn Strike because it's good, 2 Echo Oscillation, 2 Divine Strike, a Warning, and a Torrential. And then for the extra deck, it's kind of thrown together. I don't want to sound like it's not tested because it is, and everything that I've needed is in here, really. But it's like you can never know what you're going to need with this deck. Occasionally you need Zen mains or something, but you're not going to run Zen mains because you need it one time. I mean, 15 cards is a limit, especially in this deck, that we just need to deal with. So I run 2 Metaphysics Horus. It's pretty good when you use a Pendulum monster with it. It's kind of like a creature swap, except you don't have to give a monster. A Goyo Guardian, Black Rose, Yazi, Scrap Dragon, Vaxia, which I haven't summoned, but I kind of had the opportunity to once. I'm probably never going to summon it. Castel, 101, Dweller, Alucard, Ptolemaeus, Diamond, Nova, Infinity. Obviously, that whole engine right there is not going to be used a whole lot. I used it once when I had a bunch of these Zefrathubans on the field. So it comes up. The side deck's also kind of thrown together. This is for dueling network side. This isn't dueling network side deck. It's not really a competitive side deck. Big Burn is obviously for light swans, not really much of anything else. Because people run Minerva in here, which makes the deck really competitive. So I like to run Big Burn in the side deck. But yeah, you can see the side deck in there. It'll be in the description as well. Make sure you check it out. If you like Zefras, if you've been running them since they came out, kudos to you, because I tried running this deck when it first came out and I hated it because it was so complicated. But if you are good with this deck, if you have any suggestions, just leave them in the comments for others to see. I'll definitely be working on this deck in the future. I'll be trying to pick it up in real life, maybe if I can find a good enough build. That's about it for now. So I'll see you guys next profile.